Smart strategy, real conversations, bigger margins. This is Chasing the Margin podcast.
Well, thanks for joining us. Today we have Recess Fitness with Taylor and Evan. So they're the owners of Recess here in Dallas. Taylor and Evan, we're really excited to have you guys on. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for being here. I'm excited to get into it.
So the first thing is just kind of a general, why the fitness industry? Why did you hop into it? You know, you can each answer, but just curious, why fitness?
Well, mine was not really a failure in other industries, but industries I tried at first I didn't really feel like excited me as much. So for me, that was real estate. And I kind of did that in conjunction with personal training, and those were two things that kind of happened organically. And then I pursued real estate for 10 years. That was most of my 20s. And then started to do the two more simultaneously in my late 20s, early 30s. My first swing or up to bat for training, I was 20, maybe. 21, still in college, not really knowing what I wanted to do, and I dropped out. And 24-hour fitness is where I landed for a very short amount of time, like a week. A week short, and realized like that corporate role and structure and like upward mobility and training in that environment wasn't something that was a thing. And after my real estate passion faded, personal training really took off for me again when I moved from Richardson to Dallas.
Okay.
And then that's about the time Evan and I met.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got all kinds of questions that I want to ask about that, and I'm sure that you'll have a lot of similar things. But Evan, let's hear why you jumped into fitness before we ask.
I got out of the Marine Corps. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Knew I wanted to run my own business. I had been a martial arts and fitness instructor, among other things, in the Marine Corps. And my girlfriend at the time was like, "Why don't you like training people? Why don't you be a personal trainer?" And I thought that sounded crazy. I never thought I'd make a career out of it. And then, went to personal trainer school here at Cooper Institute in Dallas, and then tried to start a military-inspired boot camp company. I started Tough Fitness, which is an all-military veteran personal training company that I still got going. And but it was originally supposed to be military-inspired boot camps, and that was right around the time that Camp Gladiator was really like taking off, and they had just expanded to 4 different states, and I was like, okay, maybe this military-inspired outdoor boot camps is not it. And so I ended up doing like small team training, and anyhow, had one foot in the door, one foot out the door. I had $40,000 in my bank account when I got out of the Marine Corps, and then it went to like negative 800 in the first year because I just wasn't committed to being a trainer. I didn't think I could make a career out of fitness, and and then that day that I found myself in the negatives, I just had a talk with myself, and I'm like, well, self, like, are we gonna stick with this fitness thing, or are we gonna do something else? Because if so, now's the time to make a choice. And then I just committed mentally, and next year I made some money, and then the next year I made a little bit more money, and then that's just and now, like, I couldn't see it any other way. It's such an amazing career. Like, it never feels like work. You're helping people out. You get paid monetarily, and then you also get paid, seeing people's lives forever changed. And it's just an amazing career to be in. I lucked out.
I think meeting the two of you guys, within the last few years and getting to know your personalities a little bit from just the few conversations that we've had, between that and seeing Recess develop over the years, it just seems like it just fits. Like, this is who you guys are as people. This is what works for you, for your passions, but also is something that you can actually make a living at. So I agree with you. It just seems like I can't see you guys doing anything else other than this now.
Yeah.
So at what point did you guys two meet, or did you two meet in your lives?
Yeah, we met as trainers, competitors under the same roof, really. Because he, like he said, he started his company, Tough Fitness. I had one that I started called Butchered Bodies. Butchered Bodies. His was based off, obviously military, veteran background. Mine was based off my last name and not wanting to be, I wanted something special. So Metzger is my last name. It means the butcher in German.
Okay.
So I thought butchered bodies, and then my tagline was, "Do you want to get cut?" So I had this ad of myself standing in an apron with like a meat cleaver, saying "butchered bodies, you want to get cut," and then you kind of like immediately knew, like, this is the kind of client that I want to be, or I want to be like this. You understood what the training was about. It wasn't any cookie cutter little. We were really serious, and the website resembled that. And I remember meeting Evan at the time. He was doing Tough Fitness, and hey, I had these small group women's, and I was like, I was honestly like, just like this guy thing. I was kind of like mad. Like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Because I could see he was really successful. And he had, group after group after group. I'm like, wow. And then we became friends. That was, rewind almost around 10 years ago.
Okay.
At the Cedar Springs in Oakland at the Centrum building where Diesel Fitness used to be. And we both rented space there as trainers, similar to the way a barber or hairstylist would rent space from a chair, like a salon suite.
Okay.
And that's where we both met and found out, as we became friends over the years, and a lot of common frustration with the environment that we were both trying to build businesses in. And they were both among, I think, Google said, among the better personal training businesses in Dallas. And we were friends. So, and we noticed over the years, like, despite all the common interests that we had, that we were really different also. And like how, I remember when we were getting into this whole thing, Evan had laid a lot more groundwork than I did. I mean, he had tons of doors slammed in his face trying to get a gym off the ground. And that was really discouraging to me at the time because I had ideas. But ideas are only as good as the implementation. And he had done a lot of implementation.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's really where we, aside from hanging out and being buddies, where I remember Evan said, hey, we should probably take some kind of personality test to see if, like, we're going to be good together.
Which one did you take?
Which one was that?
Was it like the disc or
I think we just did 21 personalities or something. I don't know.
Is there is it an Enneagram? Is that a thing?
I'm sure there's so many of those tests.
Yeah.
I've done a lot. And
Trying to figure out why you are the way you are.
The easier one. No, I had coaches and, life coaches, business coaches, and they would all have me do one. And they all said the same, like Myers-Briggs, Core Map.
Yeah.
I've done all of them. I think I just picked it was like 21personalities.com or something, or like it was the easier one to do, and I we sat down and we wrote down our strengths, our weaknesses, and what we thought we brought to the business, and I think that was super important, because we were afraid that our skill sets overlapped one another and that we'd be good at the same things, we'd be bringing the same thing to the table, and that it didn't make much sense to go in business together, but
It was actually the opposite, where you complemented each other in a lot of different areas. That's kind of what you found out.
Yeah,
We did, yeah. And through that, it was kind of like a COVID thing, and that pioneered that movement. It was a global thing that sparked a lot of change for everyone. A lot of hurt for some folks, which is terrible because it cost a lot of people their businesses and their livelihoods. And I can't imagine what that would be like right now, losing that, because you get going on a business and you think like, great,
done everything right.
Done everything right. I've proven like this is a concept, and then you see all these businesses shut down and banks not working with the landlords not working with the tenants. It's heartbreaking. That's when Evan and I came up and took a lot of risk at that point, at a time when people thought we were crazy to sign a commercial lease. We wanted 5. And the landlord laughed at us. He said, I'm not messing with 5. It's a 10-year thing. But even getting to that point during COVID and the times that then Evan and, then I started getting together with Evan, doors closed in our face together. And a lot of time on leases that didn't work, learning about things that you need to negotiate that I'd never even thought of before, like what's the tenant responsible for? Like if you want to have these offices and you want them all climate controlled, you got to run ductwork to that, and that's more HVAC, and landlord's not paying for that. Who's going to pay for it? No, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
And
many things.
it's a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just HVAC alone was like, we signed a 10-year lease December 2020, so everything was still like really up in the air, and we didn't have, we kind of had agent attached to us, but as far as he went was like, he knew the landlord and he kind of called in a favor to get us with a lease, and there was essentially no negotiation on our part for the best lease possible. It was just like, you guys are lucky to even have a lease, because we were nobodies. We had no
Net worth.
We had no net worth. We had no experience, leasing space ever. We were just two personal trainers, and the guy took a chance on us, and
Yeah, I remember that. It was a SBA loan that I had taken out at the time for the disaster relief thing, and I was like, well, this is a disaster, and I need a relief, and I'm going to chance it. So,
Well, I think one thing that's really interesting that you guys talked about with the personality test, and I think it demonstrates a lot of the reason why I had you guys on, is, it was to a certain extent you guys were friends and you wanted to work together, but it wasn't that simple. Like, you took the additional steps of making sure, hey, you're going to work well together. You're not just, oh, buddy, let's do a business together. It's also unique to you guys because I think a lot of people have this stigma around gyms where it's like, oh, well, it's just a gym. Like, you can't really be successful at it. But you guys proved one of the points that I've come to learn working with so many clients, which is a lot of times it's not really about the industry. You can make good money and a good living in just about any industry. It really comes down to the person. And that's kind of what I was saying was you guys taking those additional steps to really make sure this was going to work well together. You weren't going to destroy a friendship. You weren't going to just step on each other every chance you had, that you really did complement each other. So that's one of the most intriguing parts about your story so far to me.
yeah, it's, our communication, like, I know, like, I'm pretty sensitive. Evan's got real thick skin, so that was even like a learning curve for us too. Like, I need to thicken up my skin, and Evan's told me too, like, being able to receive criticism from a partner, where if I didn't have Evan next to me running the business, like, I'm compassionate to a fault, and he's right. And it took, like, when he said that, my ears perked, and I'm like, there'd be no way I could run a business without him, because I would be too emotional about everyone's life story about how they can't fulfill their 12-month contract that they signed and agreed to, And
I'd probably be too hard.
You'd be like, sorry, your mom and your dog died in the same day, but, this contract said 12 months. So.
And that's one of the challenges of small business, is there's two faces attached to it, and you can get a hold of us. We're there. We like keeping a pulse on the business. You can't do that in large, big business. I mean, whatever. AT&T, you're not talking to that CEO when you have a problem with your contract, and he doesn't need to be messing with that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, there's parts of that small business and us being there and our personalities that do really make a big impact on the business now. And really, I remember when Evan and I didn't even have the money for the staff, and it was he and I in that business working at recess. We would take turns for the day or the part of the day, and it was all the time.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't afford the staff. So, we just are going to have to staff it. And as we have continued to staff it, we've been super lucky and fortunate to have the team of people that we do now that have continued to help grow the company. And the roles that we have had have turned into more, task delegation while we focus on other things like how do we grow, which is a classic entrepreneurial problem.
Yeah, for sure.
That, we learn more about every day.
Yeah. So what was it to really jump into it? What was it, the point that you said, hey, we want to move from being personal trainers to really open the gym? Like, was there a moment that changed that?
There was a moment. I mean, for me, it was a phone call from Evan that was the catalyst. What was it? February, March of 2019. And all the news going around the gym shutting down. And this was going to be a real thing. I remember I was kind of like the Boy Scout in me, right? I was like, my parents like, you got to get your Eagle Scout. I thought like I need to get all my meals and prepare and get a bicycle and like I might need to like get out of where people go nuts. So I'm kind of like, Academy Sports Blind MREs, and I get a call from Evan, and he's like, Taylor, we got to keep training. I think we can set up in your backyard. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And that's what we did. So we started off because, Evan had his company, I had my company. We wanted to give not only our trainers, but other trainers in the gym a place to go. Because parks, you train at the park, which intuitively everyone that has common sense would think like, yeah, I can be outside and probably not get sick. So all those risk takers would be outside in parks, but they would keep getting shut down, right?
Yeah.
Because, you have city officials coming by and just shutting it down for social distancing just by being outdoors. So we still wanted to be, not ignorant to a disease that we didn't know about, but still do outside. We had hand washing stations. We had fans. We had everyone wear the mask, disinfectant, wipe the stuff down. And it started with dumbbells, and people really liked the idea. We had a friend of mine that I used to train that we do business with now that was so generous and gave us donated a squat rack. And before you know it, we set up a big, I call it like a circus tent. It was like a 10 by 20 wedding tent. And then we got all the guys together. We built a platform with a deck. So that you could get in there with stretching tables, and then we drilled little screw eyes into the floor, so you had rubber band resistance, vertical and over your head and below your feet. So we tried to get as creative as we could with it. And the cool thing about it also was we had chickens running around the backyard, and people bring their dogs, and people would joke that it'd be called Chicken Fit, and everyone really liked it. I mean, some people didn't want to go back to the gym at that point. And I think that really gave us the boost, the confidence to really do our own thing when people were, kind of nudged us. I was like, guys, this is great. You need to pursue it. And I remember one of our friends, Preston, that brought over this dumbbell rack, and we'd be talking about this whole gym that we would have one day. And so Preston comes to the gym, and I look back, I'm like, we have it, and we did it, and it's cool.
Yeah. What about for you, Evan? It sounds like you're the one that kind of made the call to push both of you forward. What made you do that?
I had spent 4 years trying to raise capital for City Gym, a gym concept that I had, and I probably pitched to 100 plus investors and spent a lot of my own money. And I was kind of at that point where I was like, I was over it. I was just kind of I couldn't believe that nobody saw the opportunity, that I saw, and nobody wanted to invest in gyms. I even met with Larry North out here one day, and he just spent 45 minutes telling me why not to open a gym and how no one makes any money in a gym and nobody wants to invest in gyms and the work hours suck. And so I was pretty defeated around that time. And, looking back, thank God I didn't get the capital when I thought I deserved it, because COVID would have hit and who knows what would have happened, And so it's just one of those things where everything kind of happens when it's supposed to. And that was definitely one of those life lessons. And so Taylor, when we made that gym and it was so good, nobody wanted to go back to the other gym. We did it out of a backyard, people were like, you guys really ought to think about doing something else. And so, yeah, Taylor contacted me and had this 3,500 square foot spot in the design district, and it was going to be the same price as we were paying to lease space out of another independent gym. And so I said, let's go for it. And that fell through. And then we just kept upping the ante. We go to a 7,000 square foot spot. And then that fell through, for one reason or another. And then 11,000 square foot spot. And then, where we're at now, which was originally 14,454. And then, now we're at 21,000. So I don't know. It's just one thing after another. And then, the opportunity that COVID presented, 24-hour fitness going out of business, us buying the equipment off the landlord, him taking a chance on us, we had enough money for first month's rent and a security deposit, and then we had $0, and we signed
Yeah.
a 10-year lease. So we were really like, what are we gonna do, man? And you think it's like easy enough to walk into like a 24-hour fitness, but that thing had been sitting there for a year and a half. Everything was disgusting. The equipment was not ready. The place was incredibly ugly.
Yeah, I mean, Evan says a year and a half. I don't know how long it was actually vacant, but it looked like it had been vacant that long. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a lot of neglect. So just like you said, you'd think that, they had all this stuff was provided, but I mean, we had to like take we took the equipment apart to have it painted, to have it put back together, to put new vinyl on it, put new stickers on it, and make it look new because it still functioned pretty good. But after sitting for as long as it did, the grips were sticky. There was a lot of challenges, so you had to replace the grips. I mean, I remember the amount of time we spent pulling off grips. And the amount of time that it would take, when we got our first big equipment order and we couldn't afford anyone to help us carry it up or to put it together, and you're 3 floors up. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds over and over.
11,000 pounds of equipment in one order, and Rogue just dropped it off on the loading dock, and then, I had gotten like 30 minutes of sleep the night before, and I didn't say anything, but we spent 12 hours, I think, straight.
I mean, we went home at 3 or
Carrying up.
4 a.m.
Yeah.
from that day. And I mean, I remember we've turned every bolt in that gym. And I remember like my hands and my feet, I've never, my goodness, it kind of hurt to walk.
Yeah.
And then after we were done, I remember that we had to get all the trash from it downstairs. And that was this whole other thing. There was no lack of challenges starting it. And we were petrified to, like you heard Evan said earlier, to go from what we were both really comfortable with at 3,500 square feet to jump off a cliff at, 18,000 at that time, because we've taken on more space since then, was terrifying. You kind of think, well, what happens if it doesn't work? Well, I'll probably be living with my parents for a really long time. But what was worse to me, to climb out of that mountain of debt, not trying and still working for someone, and knowing that potentially that could be the case for the rest of my life, that was an easy answer for me to take the risk.
Well, I think that what I've heard a lot is people say the thing when you're lying on your deathbed, it's not the things that you did that you regret, it's the things that you didn't do that you really regret. And it sounds like you really relate to that sentiment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that it seems like you guys really stumbled on, call it on purpose, call it on accident, with the whole backyard and COVID happening, is something that I read a lot about, which is truly successful businesses seem to be very heavily number one priority culture. And that's really what you guys have built with Recess is it's a good gym. Like you said, the equipment that you guys now have functions well, is a great place to work out, to get a good workout, but it's way more than just a gym. It's become way more than that. I mean, you guys do the annual Christmas party every year, which is a huge event. You do events in the gym, seems like probably once a month, trying to just support people. So you've built something that's a lot more than just really a gym.
Yeah. A lot of that, I think comes in the name. You heard Evan mention, he had a company called Tough Fitness. Mine was Butchered Bodies. He wanted to start a gym called City Gym. And I don't know, again, it was back in 2018, 19, as Evan and I would get together, and I heard, it wasn't working for him. I wanted to do my own thing. I couldn't trying to think of a name. What can we call this? What? And I'm pretty sure I had landed the name. And I thought the name was so dang good, I just didn't want to tell anyone. And then finally, when Evan and I teamed up, I'm like, hey, what do you think about Recess? And he was like, I love that. I love it. Because it is synonymous with a childhood pastime that everyone shares in such high regard. I think that's, really quickly in one name and associate it with that type of business, what they're doing. Who is that? That's the place I want to be. It's a different frame of mind. It's not something I have to go do. It's something I get to go do, sweat, hang out with my friends. and it delved the amazing community around it. It's also not the most expensive gym in town because we're not selling status. It's not the cheapest gym either because we don't want it that way.
We offer a lot of value.
We offer a whole lot of value for our price. And some people see the value and some don't. Everyone's welcome to come and reassess, everyone, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah, I would argue that the price that you guys charge for the value that you provide, if you're basing it based on value, I would argue that you guys are cheapest tier because you provide so much value.
Thank you. I agree. Yeah. I've heard some people that think otherwise and or just can't tell. That's just not the gym for them. In fact, when we started out, the price was a lot less, but we don't offer what we do now. But I knew some very successful people that I had the opportunity to train over the years. They had sold their companies that had gone public. And they said, you've got to come in with an entry price. There's got to be an entry-level price until you get to your break-even. And then once you get to your break-even, then discuss raising it or what you might do to raise it. Like, is there enough value to raise it?
So what was the entry price that you guys, I joined pretty early on, but I don't know if I was at the very beginning.
I think you've been around a while, Troy. It was $59 for an annual.
That's pretty close to what I paid, yeah.
You committed to 12 months, and $79 if you went month to month.
Yeah, so then at what point did you decide, I mean, you kind of said it, but like, was there a formula behind it to when you started raising prices?
Yeah, I mean, look, we came up with a plan. I don't know if you, the evolution of it is, this guy that was there was a guy that was powder coating our dumbbell rack because we had to be very choosy about what we could afford, what were we going to put money into that was going to make the biggest overall visual impact and difference. And, right away, that's paint and lighting.
Yeah.
We touched every surface in there. We had a guy come in that we decided, like, if we could just powder coat this existing dumbbell rack gold, and, we had some 24-hour fitness dumbbells and plates. We can cover those. Then, we can make a big difference here. There was a guy that was delivering our dumbbell rack, and he was painting stuff in the corner in a circus tent. So we knew, and it was red and white striped. So that's why I call it a circus tent. So we knew we couldn't charge more for that. Like, there was some issues. Some of those issues were out of our control and due to no lack of effort, different contractors that we had along the way getting started. And then we raised it once we knew, like, all right, the tent is out, everything is functional. Now, what other services can we bring?
Yeah.
To raise the price? You would also hear people come in and, like, once it was where we kind of wanted it, which is relative at that time, before we knew we should raise the price, you would have people coming in from California, New York, saying, "Oh my God, this is so cheap! Like, you know what this would cost up there? This is great." Like, great. So we were kind of like, okay, like maybe we're at that point now. But, there would be things like, well, we need to change some of the equipment. Like, the cardio's kind of old. We need to probably update our cardio before we can raise prices again. Or, maybe we need to offer towels so people, versus bringing their towel, now they can dry off with the towel in the shower.
Yeah.
The bump thing, like, all right, maybe we need to do more. We should do a sauna. Let's do saunas in both locker rooms. Well, that comes with more towel service. Well, what kind of, like, product are we going to use for people to dry off, to, shampoo their hair and condition and body wash? And then, you look at other companies like the best in the industry, like Equinox and their affiliation with Kiehl's. Well, that's because Equinox is Equinox, and they have brand awareness and trust, and we weren't anywhere close to that. So how do you get a company like Kiehl's to hop on board with you?
Yeah.
Because it's just one. So those are all things that we hammered out as some were intentional, there was a plan, and some just kind of, you find out you need a stop sign at that intersection, and then you put it there. Maybe you need to put a yield sign there. And so as those things occur naturally and we increase the prices, we want to make sure that no one ever said that it wasn't worth it.
Yeah. So it sounds like, to put it in like general business terms, what you guys did was create a minimal viable product where it was like, okay, this is the baseline, where a gym should at least be here. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of got you to where you had started charging. and then every time you added an additional feature to the gym is kind of along the lines when you started increasing memberships, when it was like a major update to the gym.
Yeah, and you could compare other businesses to our price. I mean, people might think also it's crazy where we set up, right? It was an old 24-hour fitness, but probably in a 2-mile radius, you've got, I mean, we look across the street at Lifetime Fitness. LA Fitness is less than a mile away. Texas Family is less than a mile away. I mean, half a mile. Planet Fitness is maybe a mile. So there's big corporate all around us.
Yep.
And then you could compare what we were doing to them and make pretty sound decisions on pricing anyway. And I think our pricing, comparatively, is one thing that has produced the community that we have.
Yeah.
And a lot of that community, too, is built on, or it's already hardwired in their mentality when they're joined. That, they like what we're doing with being held accountable to things. And you're not really held accountable in large corporate gyms. In our gym, there's a re-rack fine. If you don't re-rack a weight, you get fined, and you sign in and agree to it. We give a warning now, of course, and that was like a process. Like, how do we go about this? How do we go to our customers? How do we show them leniency and grace and still implement policy and,
How do you have a mix of the nice guy with Taylor and then the tough guy with Evan is what you're getting at?
Yeah, you got it. And policy. And people like it. I mean, they sign up and they find out that our members or them potentially considering having that's a thing, and they want to join. They want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
It's exciting because they're tired of gyms where people leave their weights out.
Yeah, well, one thing I see posted on your Instagram feed a lot, and I genuinely do believe this personally, which is why I've been a member for so long, is best members in Dallas. Mm-hmm. And I think that you guys are priced at a good point to where it's like you're not beating people over the head by being too expensive, but you're kind of pricing out the people that really don't care to take care of the equipment. Because, like, even for myself, Recess to me is like, this is my gym. Like, right. I feel ownership in the gym, even though I don't have ownership in the gym, because people do really care about it for the most part. I mean, you don't really have a lot of the people that are obnoxious, I guess.
No, and I think a contributor to that is not allowing tripods. That's a big one.
Yeah.
We just don't care. It's not a gym to, like, you want to create content, great, you can use your phone. But, you set up a tripod, and especially in a gym environment, it's really kind of, I remember walking past someone, we've made videos around it that I think have helped people understand what we're trying to do and why. I found myself as the owner, and I knew, like, if I'm one of the owners of the gym and I feel bad for being in the background of someone's video, or I'm trying to be courteous to that, like, imagine everyone else does. And I'm like, I don't ever want members feeling that way. Yeah. Like, so how do we accommodate that forever? How do we accommodate for the people that really want to record themselves working out and build content on their social, and they're these, the influencers? How do we help them also? And it's, kind of a fool's energy sometimes to think you can please everyone, but I think we found a good medium where you can still record yourself using your phone, and that's it. That way it's not as commanding, it's more considerate of the people around you.
Yeah. So on the whole topic of membership in general, one of the things that I'm curious about, and, Evan, if you want to take it, or Taylor, if you want to take it, especially early on, or maybe it was in year 2, I remember seeing, like, Recess posted on the trolleys here in Dallas. And, like, advertising expense, I think, is a pretty big undertaking for any business. I think it's something that business owners have to really weigh. Do I want to do this? Do I not want to? What was your thought process going through that? And was it intentional to bring on more members?
I'll let Taylor take that.
Yeah, that was another big risk I took. And it came down to affordability, because I knew I could never afford to advertise on the Uptown trolley. But I knew in order to build my personal training business at the time in Uptown, I needed to do something really big. And what could I offer, like, that had monetary value? Well, my training. And maybe I could trade that against ads. So I contacted the ad company that does those ads, and I said, hey, I can provide the meals, I can provide the membership, and I can provide the training to do 3, 4, however many times a week I need to train someone in turn for an ad. And depending on the ad size of the trolley, that was going to cost me I mean, in terms of hours per month that I would have to train to get that done, it was a lot. I was training about 20 hours a month for that ad, and then it took 2 months to get it. Sometimes 3, depending on the size of the ad. Or during the summer, you're competing with Coors, and like they really want that ad space, or like alcohol ads. So I reached out and I thought, like, I'm going to come up with a proposition. The worst this company can do is say no. Maybe they say yes. They said yes. I was like, outstanding. And so I did Butchered Bodies on that for a while. And then once I got Recess going, I thought, we really need to pivot and like advertise our business. And Recess was really easy to brand and advertise, and so we came up with some pretty clever ads on that trolley. And then I was, we were both over the moon in 2024, just last year, we got #1 gym in Dallas by The Observer. Nice. So that was a no-brainer to throw on there at the time. And we still do that trade relationship, and it's worked great. I feel very fortunate to be working with that company and have that space.
Yeah, so, I mean, for those who are listening, it's a really good point there that sometimes if you can't afford something, think outside the box.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be a way to really help yourself, and sometimes it's trading services for essentially services or a product. It's kind of the same thing, but you're trading a service for something else. You're not trading dollars for the product.
You got it. And
You got to get creative.
And that was one thing we did too with our Saturdays, is we were trying to get creative. It kind of loops back into our pricing and how are we going to be different than another brand? How are we going to offer more to our customers? And that was what we had our taco thing. We still do it on Saturdays, where we've partnered up with Torchy's Tacos, and every Saturday morning people get tacos.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've kind of got like this future idea, because another pricing increase will come. You got to, when you're dealing with, you have brick and mortar space and you have annual rent escalations, as the cost of doing business goes up every year. It just does. And you want to think, like, how can I provide that value? How could I help another small business, if there's room, to provide more value for our customers? Torchy's Tacos doesn't need our help, right? They're doing just fine. But I've thought, like, when we raise our prices, you'll have multi-club access. Maybe we could offer like a day where we do coffee in the morning. I don't know, like Mondays, because Mondays suck. Everyone would love a cup of coffee on their way out the door.
Yeah.
So being creative has been, I think, huge for Evan and I, and having to grow.
Back to the community piece, like, I keep hitting that damn time. The building community was the utmost importance from day one, and especially when it was Taylor and I working the front desk and doing everything else. We got to meet with everybody one-on-one as they're coming on, So the first, 500 members got signed on by Taylor and I, and so it kind of just like developed this culture that's just stuck around since then, where like, even in the early days, it would feel weird to make a mess in that gym, right? Or it'd feel weird to leave something out or not wipe something down, or, it would, you came there and you wanted to work out. It wasn't a place where you were coming to be seen or anything else. And then as more and more people came in, and we have a lot of that in our terms and conditions and onboarding process now, and, we do have the best dang employees ever. But you're just like, you feel out of place if you don't get behind what it is that Recess represents. And, we've had, throughout the time, we've had to kick a number of people out of the gym just because they weren't right for the space, and I think that's super important. I was getting at something else, but I think it was just being, so, like now, we do so many community events with Recess, right? You mentioned the Christmas party that we throw every year, and we raise money for the SPCA every year. Last year we raised $12,240,
That's awesome.
which is nuts. It's such an amazing thing to be able to do, and I mean, we owe it to our members. It costs us a lot more than $12,240, but that's part of what makes the community so unique. We just had a recess summer party where we had 2 double-decker party barges that we go out on Lake Lewisville. It was our 2nd annual, and we tie them up, and we have a DJ, and we have food, and that one, and it's free, and it's not cheap, and but it's not about it's about we know that we have something really unique and now. And so it's just, it's something that we get to do. And if, people now that have been part of the culture for a while, they already know about it. And they're like, I can't wait till the next event. If you don't already know about it and you come to one of those events, you realize what you're part of now, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just really cool, man. It's more of like it's more of a brand than a gym, you know?
I agree. Yeah, I think that both of you guys treat this as your living. So money's obviously important, but a lot of the things that we talk about on the podcast with some of the entrepreneurs is, they want to make money, but at the end of the day, it's not just about the money. And it sounds like that's kind of what it is for you guys is, you could save some money by not doing the events and maybe going a little cheaper on certain things. But to your point, Evan, the brand is important, and this represents each of you individually at this point. I mean, you guys are Recess, or Recess is you, and you want to put your best foot forward to make sure that you look good, and the gym doing these types of things and being more of a brand, not just a gym, is really important.
And Taylor and I guided the brand, we certainly formed the idea, but Recess is definitely more than Taylor and I now,
Yeah.
It's just because of the staff and because of the members, it's just more than Taylor and I now. Now we're just kind of like we're taking care of this baby that was kind of like raised by the village in a way, and we have everyone who's come along and been something positive for Recess to thank for what it is now, and I can't take credit for that, and don't think Taylor feels like he can take credit for that. It's just something that happened, and I think we got really lucky, and in the early days, everything that could go wrong went wrong, but everything that could go right went right, and I know we're lucky, and it doesn't feel real, and now we're looking at spaces 2 and 3, and I know we'll have another one of these moments where we're like, what happened, man? Because it was just yesterday that we were like broke as a joke and stepping off of this cliff together, and we're like, we might be homeless, dude. And we're like, we might be.
Well, you've mentioned it several times, and this is something I'm always curious about. At the beginning, it was just the 2 of you, but then eventually you decided to bring other employees on. What did that look like for you guys? Was it even a more scary moment than opening, or?
Finding the right people is difficult. And then it comes down to affordability. Can I afford the right people? And initially,
we weren't paying much.
No.
Thank God people were willing to work for
people were I think
minimum wage plus commission at the time. We were lucky.
I think part of it too, like Evan said earlier, Recess is more than a gym; it's a brand. And I think that's because it's already built into most people's mind, and it's a part. Recess is a party before you even come into the gym. You experience that as a childhood, and then somewhere throughout school and in your early adulthood, you stop. Or you don't get the extracurricular sports, but it's still just not as simple as Recess. It's not competitive, right? And the staff, I think, had that same mentality, and I think they were excited about something that they knew could have the potential to be so great. And they saw two guys that put their heart and soul and everything we had into it. So
Yeah, I guess that's definitely, that's right.
I mean, we kept a close pulse on that business, and we were really in the trenches with them, working alongside of them, training them, showing them how we wanted to give a tour, showing them how we wanted to talk to the customer, how we wanted them to be intentional, not just give the customer a tour and show them everything, ask the customer about what their needs are, so that it's a good conversation back and forth. There was a book that I came across 2 years ago, really changed my life. It's by Will Guidara. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality.
I've heard this from one of your employees.
It is a phenomenal book. I mean, the first 17 pages, I hadn't picked up a book I'm embarrassed to admit, in about 20 years at the time that I read this 2 years ago, if that's any reflection of my age, but that doesn't matter. And, that book, in the first 17 pages, I laughed and cried. And it was something that I knew could be equally as valuable for what Evan and I were trying to do and how we treat people as it was for the hospitality industry. And it really helped me understand hospitality and the stuff that wait staff and deal with every day from people. It
Gave
made
you
me
a compassion for
my
them.
goodness, yeah. I mean, it made me a better customer to those people. And Troy, it's really nice hearing you say earlier that you treat the gym like our own, because that's how we want the staff to treat it, like it's your own, and we want our members to treat the staff like they own the gym. So that's we've been really fortunate, like Evan said, have the people that we do working for us and read that book and have a staff where everyone is on the same page and they understand what we're doing. It's been huge for us.
Yeah. So it sounds like from a practical standpoint, you guys kind of help meet the gap of what you could afford from an employee with maybe some commission type structure. So maybe that would be applicable to some other business owners. But it goes back to the bottom line, and it seems like this is going to be the theme of the episode, is it's the culture, man. Whether it's an employee, whether it's a member, you either get it and you get the whole purpose of the gym, or you don't get it and you're not meant to be here in the first place. Mm-hmm. And not in a rude or rude way. You're not trying to be like, hey, we don't want you here, but it is kind of like, hey, you're just not a good fit, and we just are not what you're looking for.
And that's okay. We're not mad about it. There might be some place that's better for them, and that is okay. It's the staff that we had, though. I mean, there was, we had some different managers along the way, and I know at a point where we had kind of identified a manager, but we couldn't afford her at the time. I remember she telling me what she would need. I went to Evan, and he's like, I'm just can't do it. And then it was so we took on another manager at that time, and she was good. But we had some issues, and at that point, I don't know how many months had passed since the conversation I had with Evan at that point, and then the reapproach to the new manager where we could afford her. And then we afford her, and she's doing great, and she's brought, I think, a lot. The gym business too, Evan and I, we both knew, we both wanted a female manager. Mm-hmm. We knew, the gym business doesn't have enough female management or operations or ownership, and that was super, super important to us. And Evan's had ideas where he's wanted to start an all-female gym. I mean, we're really passionate about having women feel comfortable in a gym environment, and that's also part of our procedures. And when you sign, we don't. It's not a place to just go and pick up people. It's a place where you go and you're respectful, and you can just see that. And our management and staff, they all continue to embody that, and it's grown into a really great thing. And now, like Evan said earlier, we're trying for location 2. It's been it feels like a repeat of trying to get location 1. That has been 2.5 years of doors closed in our faces, mm-hmm. which is I appreciate that because you learn from it and you understand why. And we're having to be equally as creative now on some things. You know, you think we have good numbers. We're still personally not worth really a lot or anything to get someone excited about taking a chance on us for location 2. Did we just get lucky? I think we both would like to think we didn't. Yeah, maybe we did, but I think we created something great that can easily be replicated again and again. Because like, we've been saying this whole time, Recess is something I think is built into everyone.
Yeah, well, I think, I guess maybe toot my own horn, but I think that the people that I see that are successful, and I'm around a lot of people that are worth a lot of money, is they surround themselves with good counsel.
Okay.
And this is where I'm tooting my own horn. I think we're surrounding you with good counsel as your CPAs.
I do too.
And we've given you other people that you're just now getting to know in new relationships. So I think that at least you're taking the steps to get there. And to me, if you're taking the steps to get there and you've got the grit, and I mean, without a doubt, you've got the grit because you've proven that through this story. I think between those two things, it's a matter of time.
It is.
I don't think it's a fluke. I think it's just a matter of time before everything else begins to fall in the right place.
I do too, Troy. I mean, Evan and I just got through with a pretty exciting lunch earlier. I mean, we might, if everything falls into place like we'd like it to, we might simultaneously pop 2 locations. They may, so we'll see.
Yeah. So then, what is it, and maybe you've already mentioned it through a couple of the things that you've talked about, that was the hardest thing that you've had to go through at Recess? And give me, the specific story, if you can, of this was the most challenging thing we've done so far.
Take it away. There's a lot. I'm interested to hear what he says.
When you have money, everything's a lot easier,
Yeah.
When you don't, well, it's a lot harder. We didn't have any money. Taylor and I never had any investors. I mean, we did have 2 close friends of ours. We found ourselves probably on like 4 separate Mondays where we needed $50,000 by Friday, and we're like, what are we gonna do, man? Because we had spent every dollar that we had, or like anyone close to us had, and so we had, like, on 2 separate occasions, one of our close friends, lended us $50,000 and $35,000 respectively. 2 separate occasions. We ended up, paying them back within a year with interest and never missed a payment and all these things. But we one of the harder, more trying times was our general contractor that we started with. He, bless his heart and rest in peace, because he's no longer with us. But he took a chance on us. He agreed to foot the bill for 270 days for us because we didn't have any money. I've never heard of a contractor doing that ever before. I don't, Taylor, at the time, like, we were scrappy as hell, and Taylor was not afraid to ask for anything, and I'm kind of like,
No, I'm not.
I'm just like, I'm the type where I'm like, I just don't, I don't like taking things from people. I don't like asking for things. I don't like asking for, at least I was that way. Now I've kind of gotten over myself. But Taylor asked him if he'd be willing to do it, and he agreed. And I was like, oh my, the only reason we have a gym now is because of him. That being said, we found out that he had been involved in 24 lawsuits over the last 2 years.
Ouch.
And a simple Google search would have showed us that. Lesson learned. We didn't Google search this guy. But anyway, he ended up trying to screw us over, and we had to sue him. And we're nobodies with no experience, no money. We ended up, like, studying law for a couple weeks in writing up our own lawsuit, and because we couldn't afford an attorney, and that drug on for a year and a half probably until he filed bankruptcy for a 5th time, and we negotiated something with the bank that took on his debt, and right after we paid the bank, he got murdered.
Oh, wow.
Probably.
He happened to
Most likely.
pass.
He got murdered.
Well, yeah.
It was
Found his
pretty.
body floating in the Houston Bay
Wow.
after
The door of his truck
disappearing.
was open and running, and so I think he probably got killed.
Yeah, there's some foul play there.
I would say that's a pretty challenging thing to go through as a business.
Yeah, it was really challenging. I mean, talking about, I had friends of mine, that were very successful and having trouble sleeping, and I would always understand why with personal training. I'm like, everything was within my control. It's me and my clients, and that was it. And then I've heard Evan say we're like a 2-man orchestra. I'm like, that's actually really well said. There's so many other factors and things that come into play that you're not in control over. You try to be. And that was one of them that we didn't have a lot of control over, and everyone understands, like, dealing with general contractors and subs. It's kind of like a funny joke, right? But, yeah, I aged like the president during that time. Oh, my God. It's
So
nice to have it behind us.
do you agree that that was maybe the most challenging thing, or do you feel like something else was?
No, I would totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. There was so many.
there was a
things.
lot. I mean, there were challenges with the city because that time was COVID. So, you have a rent abatement period, and then they say, okay, like we needed to continue to defer it longer. Like the city took like we couldn't get our CO for months, so that was a huge stress thing at the time. And like I would say, we fell short on getting rent in time. But he pretty much covered it. That was probably among the toughest time for us.
Okay.
We had wet paint on the walls on our grand opening party. Like, you couldn't touch the walls. And we had Taylor and I were in our suits, like, putting together one stall in the men's locker room and one stall in the women's locker room so that they had a toilet, because all the stalls had been taken out for us to do the work. And I mean, everything was
Rush home and
behind.
change.
Yeah.
We were late to our own grand opening party.
Yeah.
But, bootstrapping, every part of it. And, I remember like, one other issue is, like, what on earth? I mean,
There's the goop deal.
yeah, gosh, that was just, like, social media can be so toxic. And there was something that we weren't even involved with. It was a guy that worked out at our gym. He was just a member at our gym. And I'll spare the long story, but it somehow, because we allowed him to be a member of our gym after this, which we weren't involved in his personal affairs or matters, that this one guy was so influential on social media. He called out this individual and expected everyone, his employers, where he frequented as a customer, to just get rid of him, to erase him. This guy did was so terrible that he should, which was this terrible witch hunt for this guy. And, I couldn't immediately get on board with it, because he was what I considered a friend from our interactions. We hadn't hung out outside of the gym, but I certainly didn't want to jump to any conclusions. And the time that it took us to even be aware and respond to him, people thought that we were in support of it because we weren't immediately going to kick him out of our gym. And, people from New York were giving us 1-star reviews on Google because they thought we were
saying we were harboring sexual predators and that, women beware.
terrible.
And then it no longer was about this guy at all. It was about Taylor and I and this idiot who just like, that was one of the more troubling times, because we're like, Taylor and I had poured our heart and soul into this thing, and we, culture and like having good people around is such an important thing to us, and we've kicked out, people who didn't fit, and then like, we have this guy who like took it upon himself to attack Taylor and I in our business and this thing that like our baby for likes, and comments and to support his own online coaching business. And he's just a very sad soul. And the only reason he went after that is because we wouldn't we wouldn't make a video saying that we kicked this guy out and tag him in it. I told the guy, I don't know who you are, and I don't know what you think that we owe you, but I don't owe you a damn thing, and you need to leave us alone. We have nothing to do with you. And he said, I have a feeling you'll be hearing from me this evening. And he spent the whole day making a video montage of Taylor and I
Get
and
on
our
a live
faces.
feed and talk to the guy.
People were saying they're going to burn our gym down to the ground, that we're not going to be there anymore. And no one who had ever been to Recess, right? And there was probably 2,000 comments and like 6,000 likes on this thing. So it was a really difficult time. I mean, I even saw, this guy's in New York, but I had people who were ex-clients, and they'd be like, you know, this doesn't sound like the Evan that I know, but, you know, I guess you don't know. And then I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, is this what this has come to? And so, you know, the more popular you get, the more you got a target on your back kind of thing. And we've run into that a handful of times.
You know,
it's unfortunate.
Classic haters are going to hate. You got such a powerful tool like social media that's not regulated, right? Like the news. Of course, you know, those editorials are all picked from, you know, the news company that wants to broadcast it, but that's not the case on social media. And it can be a really hurtful thing for some people that get involved in those messes. It can also be really beneficial. Evan and I knew that as part of our brand, we wanted the swings and the things that you associate with Recess. You know, while someone's waiting on someone else, you can just sit on the swing in a lounger and swing. You know, we knew we both wanted a slide in the business. We had to have a slide. We had to have a slide. And that slide garnered a ton of attention. It was validation on, you know, one of those things, like Will Guidara says it in this book. It was, he had started this cafe at one point in his career, or he didn't start the cafe. He was working for this cafe that was in a museum. And I forget this rule that he talked about, but it was some kind of expense that didn't necessarily make sense in the company, but what it produced in return was worth every bit of it. A little detail. And it was something like a blue spoon that in comparison to the cost of the cup and everything else, he needed that spoon, and it was that cafe. It was a brilliant concept. It did great. Similar to the slide, pricing wise, it was kind of egregious. I think some people would be like, "That's nuts. That's stupid. Don't do that." And we did it, and we got 14 million views on that now.
So that was one thing I wanted to ask, because we've talked about the social media thing, and you know it's challenging for you guys being in the spotlight. But I think I may have been with Evan. I was for sure at one point where you guys went viral on Instagram, I believe. Mm-hmm. What was that experience like?
Crazy.
I mean, I get chills right now thinking about it going up my arm. It was crazy. You could just see that number every day. I'm like, what? Like, yes, I'm so glad we did. And then you got it garnered global attention.
Yeah. How many views did it get total? Do you know the number?
I think
like
it's
14
million
or something. There's like
people still
over
watching
a
it.
million likes, I think, or
Then, you know,
I don't know, 650,000 shares, and like people from all over the world are asking us to bring Recess to Australia, England.
Yeah.
And just what, 5 years ago, you guys were standing there at that dumbbell rack saying, "What's it going to look like when you have an actual gym?"
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's been nice having the budget that we did then, and it's part of our mission statement. And it's that, you know, we constantly promise to improve the space as you improve yourselves, because that's what the gym's all about. You know, you're in there improving yourself physically, but there's also, with all the etiquette standards and what we have and the mentality, the mental. I mean, gosh, like the older I get, like the more I work out from my mind. Like I've created what I wanted aesthetically. That's great. Now, like I need it from my mind, and you know, I was going to make a point of that, but that's what it was. We couldn't get Recess where we wanted, and now we've reinvested a lot. You know, people have probably seen the gym. I mean, Troy, you know, from the day you're in there to where it is now. So that'll be interesting to see as we do our second locations and grow. I thought, maybe a creative way is maybe we don't have to do everything all at once. And the change in the environment is good. I know, like, working out at gyms in the past, and the environment is always the same, and it's just boring. Like, you don't want to go to the same place all the time. Why would you do that over and over and over and over? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Right? So I think the idea of our mission statement and change, and what members are in there for, to change and be better versions of themselves, like, why can't we constantly do that as a gym? So that's what's going in our mission statement. We can show it to people, and hopefully we show that to them as we continue to grow and build gyms and change those gyms, just like redecorating your house. Like, after a while, like, change. Varieties of spice. What's that line?
Varieties of spice alive.
Thanks.
That was varieties the spice of life. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that's how it goes.
I think it's pretty close to that. I think that's it.
All right. Well, then, so let's talk future, because we've talked about the past, we've talked about the present. I hear the term the hairy, audacious goal. What is Recess's big goal? Like, if you guys could picture anything in the future, what would you want to achieve with the business?
I think my goal is more nuts than Evan's is. Mine's like, but what I do know is, like, I want to work with Evan the rest of my life. We work good together. And the team that we built together, Elon Musk didn't get to where he is, and some people don't like Elon Musk, whatever, it's fine. It's a team of people, it's not just one person. And that's with pretty much most industries. Jeff Bezos, he didn't build Amazon by himself. I mean, he started it. But like, it took a team of people. So what was the question? I keep
Taylor, I think Taylor wants to just worldwide domination is Taylor.
Worldwide
Taylor would like a
domination,
recess like on the moon.
Yeah.
So recess in like Dubai, London.
Yeah, look, you see gym concepts coming out of Dubai. I just saw one the other day. I've even saw one over in Europe called One Playground. And I'm like, that's really close, but whatever.
Yeah.
Fine. Evan and I, we also want to, like, broaden our minds. He wants to be a part of an entrepreneur group. I want to be a part of a separate entrepreneur group. He had mentioned that we should do that, and I told the guy the other day, he's like, how many gyms do you have? How many do you want to have? And I said worldwide, and he was like, well, I just, it can be done. It can be done. He's like, we have some guys in your group, this roundtable, have 46 gyms. Some guys have 3 to 5. So as I have faced the same challenges with Evan, just trying to get 2 and 3 off the ground, or 2 rather, forget about 3 yet, but maybe. I think I would be, how much money do you need? Yep. When is it ever enough? That's what I've realized as I've started to grow and make more money is there's more, Jay-Z said there's more money, there's more problems, and he's right. And that's just what happens. At what point do you say, like, it's enough and I'm happy? And so, my maybe answer to that for myself is, like, and I think Evan would probably agree, maybe more closer in line to his goal is, like, maybe we do 5 in the state. And then maybe we get some private equity interest that wants to buy us out and take the brand.
Yeah. Evan?
Yeah, I don't want to run a gym my whole life. I would like to do something else with Taylor. I think I'd like to build 5, sell. If somebody wanted to buy and then keep Taylor and I on as consultants for a couple of years, I think that'd be fun while we figure out what it is else that we want to do. But I got more passions in life, and I just think, like, honestly, realistically, Taylor and I could do whatever the hell we want and be successful at it, just because we got.
It's the 3rd time. It's not going to happen for That's how we learn. I just did it.
So I don't know. I might get to 5 and and decide like it'd be really cool to open one in Chicago, and then we do that, and it's like, well, now we gotta go to LA, and maybe it'll never end, but I don't know.
So far, you're both enjoying the journey, though?
Yeah, we'll call each other. Oh, hey, I had this idea. Oh, hey, I had this idea. Yeah. And they're good ideas, really, I think. Yeah, we're not going to tell anyone what they are, right? That'd be crazy.
You want to just share them all on the podcast?
Yeah, no way. But, everyone knows you can have good ideas all day. Yeah. All day. The implementation is a whole other animal.
Yeah.
And we'll see what we get to implement over the years. I'm excited about it. My gosh, no, it's due to no lack of effort. I'll tell you that we are already in a second location. I mean, I think we both thought it would have happened long before now, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, since this is an entrepreneur podcast, I'd say like the number one thing that I learned for myself early on was entrepreneurship. You got to ride the wave, learn to ride the wave, and like, there's gonna be ups and downs, and like expect them, and just know that that's part of it. Not everything happens on your time, and that you'll look back and like when it was craziest will be the times that you missed the most. Now we're in this space that more or less runs itself because of the amazing staff we have. I miss the days when we had 18-hour days, 7 days a week, and I want that again. I'm itching for some chaos, because that's what's fun to me.
It is, there's a huge persistence component where you just do not stop. You just go and go and go and go, and just and I think especially when you're passionate about it and you have no ego, you stay humble, and you believe and you're confident in your concept, and you just keep your nose to the grindstone, and you're persistent and persistent and persistent. It'll work. Yeah. I would never be a doctor because that would be a fool's energy, persistence, in that I'm not a doctor. I'm not good at that. Mm-hmm. That's not how my mind works. I'm not passionate about that. Yeah. So I think identifying passion and understanding like what you're naturally good at, or an idea that you have that you think is really good, and going all in on it is really everything. And like Evan said, riding the wave and understanding like the highs and lows, my goodness. Because I think, golly, you get in a life. I know we've had, like, it's funny, it was someone that worked for us for a while, and she was at boot camp, one of our class instructors. She went to SMU, she graduated school, she got out of school. And she was like, oh my God, like this is it now, I just go to work. I'm like, I had the same realization when I dropped out of college. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it was like, well, my parents got me this it wasn't aptitude, it wasn't based on aptitude, thank God, this career test. It was based on personality, and it was, real interior design and landscape architecture, and I've been really lucky to be able to have a business partner that has that same palette, and to be able to design, recess, and do this.
Awesome. Well, we always like to end, and you guys have kind of covered it with basically just last words for entrepreneurs. And maybe we take kind of a different approach with you guys, because you've mentioned it a couple times, each of you. So whether it's either starting your own business or, as you mentioned, Taylor, getting out of college, trying to figure out what you want to do, or Evan, with you being in the military, getting out of the military, figuring out what you want to do, is there any kind of general advice for maybe people that are looking to start, or maybe that are currently struggling and going through those 18-hour days, that you would just say, this is the thing I would tell you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, man, if you're not creative yourself, find somebody who is. I mean, We really, I mean, we started from absolute scratch, and like it was all creativity in the beginning. It was even creativity down to like, how do we make this place look better without, having any money to do it? Oh, let's get creative, I mean, I have a million stories of just that alone. Like, we still have some of the lights that we built in the locker rooms by hand because we couldn't afford lights, and we cut them and riveted them, and like, we don't know what the hell we're doing. We just figured it out. And
they look good, those lights, yeah.
Get creative, figure out how to like provide value without it costing you anything. Partner where you can and trade when you can. Just think outside the box, and figuring out how to get people to know about you, whether it's guerrilla marketing or, I mean, things are so much easier now with social media, and it's free, and all it takes is like some good ideas. I probably DM'd 3,000 people in the early days of Recess with individualized messages that, were going to our competitors' gyms and everything. That cost me nothing but time, and we got a lot of members out of it.
Yeah, and I think also knowing that it is okay to ask for help, or maybe you do need a partner. Maybe it isn't just you. Maybe it's success falls in you and someone else, and another mind that thinks a little bit different. Especially, I remember I've been with dated people, different people in the past, and they haven't known really what they want to do, and it's broken my heart for them. And I think back, well, how did I ever really know what I wanted to do? And then I just think like, well, once I found out that landscape architecture and interior design were my strengths, I thought back and reflected on that through my childhood, because I was around 18, 19 when I took that test. And I looked around at my bedroom, or different things I was just really particular on, or neurotic. I just got this like OCD, I have bad ADD and dyslexia. But I was this compulsion, just kind of like, it can be a blessing and a curse. And I think, like my career, and like I still, like as I go into different environments and I walk around, like what irks me about this room I'm in was like the lighting. The lighting's not right, and how can it be better? And I don't know why I think that way. And I think everyone has a little bit of that in them, not necessarily a weird lighting quirk or like a design, focus, but something that interests them by default, or that they're good at, or maybe like, I don't know, you just work really well with your hands, and you consider like, maybe I need to, like, I work so good with my hands, or maybe because I think this way molecularly, I should be a doctor. I mean, one of my career paths I didn't wind up pursuing because my parents like, you're just going to become a drug addict and travel all over the world, was like lighting stage production. Like I really wanted to do that. And I thought like, I know I can create like incredible set design. And that was just from the way like my bedroom was lit. And if anyone, that I went to high school with, that's my bedroom, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So I just, I would just kind of, if anyone feels frustrated with what they're doing, or they don't know, or just maybe tap into yourself and look back at your childhood. That's really, truly, when you look back at Recess, what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are both really good points and very unique to you guys, where some of the other people we've had on haven't brought up those points, with creativity being a huge differentiator, and then maybe looking at something that, from your point of view, may not seem like a good trait, and how can you utilize that to really be an amazing trait positively for your life. So, well, that's great, guys. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Troy.
Awesome.
It's been great. I really enjoyed the time today. Thank you.